We are in live in YouTube, sir.
So shall I start?
अब्रा जी कंटिन्यू करिए.
Sir, shall I start?
Yes, because
Namaste and very good morning to one and all. I C.H. Yukas from NF Railway and my brother Sri Abrar welcome you all to this guest speakers, panelists, attendees and viewers for the second phase of the webinar which is commenced on 17th of August and we are having into the conclusion of the webinar today itself, that is 20th of August 2020. Without wasting any time, I would like to request you all kindly stand up for our BSG prayer.
okay. Okay. WhatsApp you are sending. Okay.
दया कर दान भक्ति का हमें परमात्मा देना. दया करना हमारी आत्मा में शुद्धता देना. हमारे ज्ञान में आओ प्रभु, आँखों में बस जाओ. अंधेरे दिल में आकर के परम ज्योति जगा देना. बहादो प्रेम की गंगा, दिलों में प्रेम का सागर. हमें आपस में मिलजुल कर प्रभु रहना सिखा देना. हमारा कर्म हो सेवा, हमारा धर्म हो सेवा. सदा ईमान हो सेवा, सेवक चर बना देना. वतन के वास्ते जीना, वतन के वास्ते मरना. वतन पर जान फिदा करना, प्रभु हमको सिखा देना. दया कर दान भक्ति का हमें परमात्मा देना. दया करना हमारी आत्मा में शुद्धता देना.
Please be seated, everyone. We extend our welcome to all the viewers in YouTube channel of BSG India and request you invite at least 5 members or friends to join in the webinar through our official YouTube channel. Please be active on YouTube. Use the Q&A and chat button of the webinar and put your questions in the YouTube live chat. Our team members will collect and share your question with today's guest speaker. Only one delegate from each state are present here as attendees and all the other members are participating us from our official YouTube channel. Now, I take privilege to call upon one of the main pillar of Bharat Scout and Guide, Sri Rajkumar Kaushik sir, Director of BSG, to welcome our chief guest and guest speakers and other dignitaries. Sir, please.
Thank you, Vikas. Dear Luj, Director Communication and Partnership, APR, one of the senior most professional of the APR region. On the behalf of our Chief National Commissioner, Dr. K.K. Khandelwal, and all the dignitaries and the NHP staff, we welcome you in our this Better World Framework workshop. webinar. Really, you have spared your time to give some feedback to our youth. It is a great pleasure to all of us. So we welcome you. Then Miss Kenny, your manager, the Department of Communication and Partnership. We welcome you also, Kenny, in our workshop. And I welcome all the officials.
जब मैं मधु सर को बुलाऊंगा ना for his closing remarks, तो उसके बाद he will play
All
a
of
small
my
video.
Power Rangers, youth who are on the webinar or who are on the YouTube for the your attendance in last day's webinar. And we hope that with this webinar, all of you might have got a good knowledge about all the initiatives of the Vajam. And we hope that all of you will also take use of it and take the benefit of all the knowledge you people have gained, and you will also pass on the same knowledge to the other youth of your own city or own district or even on your own state. And the number of activities related to Vajam initiative will be increased day by day under your leadership, and that is only our aim, that you people should take the initiative based on the Vajam. And um, so I especially welcome all the youth who are on the webinar. So once again, welcome to you all. And for the information of Kenny and Luch, the Bharatmates is organizing number of virtual activities all over India. It was started with the youth forum, and now it has gone to the unit level. Now the units are also organizing their activities virtually. So I hope that with this webinar, our youth will give definitely a boost to the activities. And from the youth activities, now we have come down to the trainers activities and the unit leader activities also. Number of unit leader activities and the trainers activities has been organized. Now we have started training courses also online. Recently, from 1st to 7th August, first reorientation course for trainers was organized, which you people used to call it as a refresher or the fresh up workshop. Now from 22nd, the Scout Wing course is going to be organized from 22nd August to 28th August. And from next month onwards, every month, one new course will be announced, which is required for the unit leaders or for the trainers. Other than this, with the help of the APR, now we are going to construct the website, especially for the teachers who are interested for the basic course, so that they can start their units. And our membership will grow day by day because of this new website. Other than this, in the same website, further we will also improve the advanced course also for their further development. So we are not having any fear of this COVID-19, and we have won actually over the COVID-19, and our youth has proved it that they don't have any fear, and all the activities are going on, only except the physical gathering. So there is no effect of this COVID-19 on BHG activities. Only the thing is, previously it was a physical gathering, but now it is a virtual gathering. But the gathering is there, training is there, youth activities are there. So it is only just for your information. Thank you very much once again for coming, and now you are going to take an important session, so I will not take much time. It was only just for your information. Thank you once again, and I once again welcome all the guests, all my auxiliaries, whoever is in the webinar, and also to all people. Thank you. Over to sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful welcome address. It is the time to start our today's session. So, without any delay, I would like to request a person who likes to believe to work in grassroots level, our Deputy Director Boy Program, Sir Amar B. Chhetri, for the brief information about the webinar and start today's session. Sir, please.
Uh, Thank you. Will not take much time. I just, Kenny, you know that this is a webinar on Better World Framework, the World Scout initiatives. And we are very grateful that the Asia Pacific Support Center has supported us to depute speakers on various initiatives of WOSM. We have received the support from Global Support Center as well. This webinar was organized in two phases for 8 days, from 5th to 8th and 17th to 20. And today is the closing ceremony of the webinar with your important session. So I will not take much time. I would like to request Luj Terry, one of the senior professionals of the Asia Pacific Support Center, who has vast experience on all the initiatives of WOSM, and Brother Kenny, I think he's a known figure in the Bharat Scouts and Guides, who has delivered a session on during our National Youth Forum, virtual youth forum organized for the first time. So I would like to welcome Luj, and I would like to hand over you for your sessions. And I hope our young people will definitely enjoy your sessions, and they will get impact further in storytelling and uploading the projects in scout.org. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you
thank you
very much.
very much. Thank you. Now can I share my screen? So thank you very much for the warm welcome. And I'm very happy to be back to India. So I'm sharing my screen right now. Let me see.
Luj, our participants are also like to see you on your video also, so that they will remember you always.
Yeah, okay. I hope my connectivity is good so that I will be able to share my video with you later. Okay, let me see if I can share this one. So do you see this? Do you see the screen right now?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Okay, so thank you again for inviting me to this webinar. And this time I am delivering a very special session, which is the storytelling in the context of the Better World Framework. Now for this presentation, I will focus on the messengers of peace, and I will touch a little bit also on Scouts for SDG. Now, for storytelling, you know, storytelling has always been a part of the scouting tradition. You know, since the time when we were having campfires, we used to tell stories around the campfire, and we used to tell stories through narratives, through role playing, and other performances. But for this storytelling session, I would like to focus on three things. One, storytelling is a journey. Second, connecting with our audience. And third, storytelling comes in different forms. Now, I say that storytelling is a journey because it has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has a conclusion or new directions. Now, there are basic components of storytelling, and these are who, why, what, where, when, and how. But I would say that there are essential components that we need to include in our stories. And let me start from the bottom. Storytelling should highlight the values and relevance of scouting. And the next one is storytelling is a tool to share our knowledge and experiences. And then the next one, story can create a positive impact on individuals, and as a result, we can also create positive impact in our communities. And the last one is that storytelling inspires new goals and direction. Now, I would like to give an example for this. For example, Scout Group A does a very successful MOP project and they share their story. And then Scout Group B is able to listen to the story, is inspired by the story, and they themselves start a different project or a similar project. So this is what I mean when I say that storytelling, it is a continuous journey because one story can lead to another story. Now, there are different ways of telling the story or different forms in telling the story. It could be in words, it could be in photos, it could be in infographics, or it could be in audiovisuals. So I will explain that a little bit later in the following slides. Now, it is very important to connect with our audience. But before connecting with our audience, it is good to identify who our audiences are. So you see here in the inner circle, it is very close to home, the Scout community and young people. These are our target audiences. The Scout community, these are, of course, young members as well as adult members. Young people, they could be young members or they could be non-members. And for the next circle, we have the donors and partners and other NGOs. And then the next one, media and government. And then the next one, the general public. The reason why it is important to identify our audiences is for us to be able to set the tone that our target audience can understand. And another one is that we can use the proper vocabulary that is most suitable for our audience. Now, I would like to share with you the insights of our Facebook page, Scouting in the Asia Pacific region. So for those of you who have not followed or liked our Facebook page, please do so after this session. Now, I would like to describe our audience here. So by age, you see here that 45% is comprised of people who are between 18 to 24 years old, 26% between 25 to 34 years old. So you can see here that majority of our likers and followers are between 18 years old to 34 years old. Now, in terms of gender, we see here in the graph that 27% are women and 73% are men. Now, I also include here our top 5 countries who are following us. Number 1 is Philippines, and then Indonesia, Bangladesh, India, and Malaysia. Now, I would like to have a journey with you. As I said, storytelling is a journey. So in every journey, there is a character. And for this journey, I would like to introduce the character of the story. And she is Ruhi Rusaba of Bangladesh Scouts. She is one of the MOP heroes back in 2019. Ruhi has been a scout for 10 years. And why is she a hero? It is because she led a lot of several projects, including the Ticket to Life, Project Wings, and Project Odrick. Now we go to the why. So what is the purpose of the project or the story? And I would suggest that the why also highlights the values and the relevance of scouting. So here in the example that I'm giving, we're going back to Ruhi, and the aim of their project, which is called Team Wings, is to educate women on their rights and to raise awareness on inequalities that women experience. And then we go to the how. So how did Ruhi do it? So from the perspective of the audience, how will the audience benefit from your story? So it is good that we share the knowledge and experiences of our participants. So here, Ruhi is working with young women to educate them on the rights, and so that they become more aware of the inequalities that they face in their country. So apart from that, she also interviews girls to discover the root cause of their problems, and she also holds lectures and face-to-face conversation with the parents of the girls to explain the inequalities that women face. And then we go to the what. So what happened? From the perspective of audience, that what the audience can do with the story. So here we continue to share the knowledge and experiences of the storyteller. So here Project Wings conducts events in slum areas where they organize discussions on menstrual health, hygiene, pregnancy, and social taboos. And we can also cover other things that are not delivered in the who, what, and how. And here I choose to do a quotation or a statement from Ruhi herself. So she says, I believe scouting is helping me and others in taking away some of the stress of studying. Scouting helps me busy and allows me to do activities that serve my community instead of just sitting at home. That's one of the main reasons why I chose to be a scout. So we see here the very positive impact of scouting and on Ruhi. And at the same time, she also shares the positive impact of scouting with others. Now, very important component of a story is the call to action. So what do you want your audience to do next? Do you want them to obtain more information or learn more about their project? Do you want them to support the project, or better, do you want them to do a similar project? So storytelling inspires other people to reach new goals and engagement. So here in this story, it doesn't really end with gender equality. Another story begins, and this is the project that Ruhi is leading, which is the Project Odric, which is helping university students who are exposed to harassments, including mental, physical, and sexual abuses. So this summarizes the story of Ruhi, and I really believe that Ruhi is very much deserving as an awardee of the MOP Hero. And I think she's really a very courageous and brave girl who is addressing very sensitive issues like gender inequality as well as sexual harassments. Now, as I said earlier, storytelling takes different forms. So in words. So that was the example that I've given earlier, the words, and I've also included some photos. And as a structure, we are suggesting that every story should have the why, how, what, and anything else that is not included, as well as a call to action. Now, there are things that I would like to emphasize in terms of the style, because we receive a lot of different stories coming from NSOs, and we observe that there are things that are not really within the common standard of our style. For example, for the dates, we do not say 20th October 2020, we do not say 21st October, or we don't say 23rd October. We simply say 20 October 2020. Now, in terms of time, we don't say 11:30 hours with a colon. That is already redundant. So we simply say 11:30 with a colon, or 11:30 H, and that stands for the hour. Now, in terms of quotations, it is very typical that I receive these kinds of stories wherein the quotation is itemized. You know, there's really no need to itemize the quotations. It is enough that we have an opening quote and then an ending quote. Now, in terms of numbers, we should use comma after every 3 digits. The example that I gave here is that 2,000 scouts or 25,000 scouts. Now, especially for the Barrett Scouts and Guides, you have large participation either in young people events or adult events. So it is important that we use a comma in our numbers. Now, again, speaking of numbers, for the numbers 1 to 10, we use the words, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But for the number 11 onwards, we should use the number 11 or 100 or 1000 or million. And we should avoid starting our sentences with a number or a figure. So we don't say 250 scouts participated in the SDG webinar. So we can say in all or in total, 250 scouts participated in the webinar. Now, abbreviation is really very common, like Better World Framework, MOP, SDG, SWA. So for the first mention, we mention the entire word, Better World Framework, and in close and open parentheses, we say BWF. But in the succeeding mentions, we simply say BWF. We can use it 5 times or 10 times, it really doesn't matter. Now let us go to the photos. Now for us, we are really very particular with the photos that we receive, especially those that we are publishing on scout.org. So we always prefer photos of scouts in action that convey excitement, involvement, and empowerment, as you see in these 2 photos. And as you see in the second photo, yeah, there are very, very nice faces there, but it is not, it is actually, it is quite inactive. On the second one, we really encourage Scouts identity or symbol in your photos. So in the first photo that we give here as an example, it has all the symbols of Scouting, like the scarf, the hat, the uniform. We also see the badges and even the socks. But on the other photo, it is a very action-oriented photo. There are also young people, but then we don't see any symbol of Scouting there. And we will be hesitant to use that because we will not be sure if these young people are volunteering, as you see on their t-shirt, or if they are volunteering for Scouting, or if they are volunteering for another organization. Now, diversity, this is also important. Diversity in terms of age, culture, gender, probably geography, race, ethnicity. So the photos that I'm giving here as examples are very good photos. So the first photo is diverse in terms of culture and in terms of gender. For the second photo, it is also diverse in terms of age and culture. So we see here a young person from Japan and an adult leader from Bangladesh. Now, we always look for photos that are natural and not posed or staged. As you can see on the first photo, you know, Scouts are taking action. On the second one, of course, it looks nice, but then this photo is not really for scout.org, but of course, it could be used for personal FB accounts. Now, we would also like to see faces in the photos. Now, in photography, the photo that we see here is called framing. So we see here the very happy faces of young boys. So they are from the Boy Scouts of the Philippines. And you see, as compared with the other photo, we can only see the back side of the participants. And even for the scout leader, we cannot see his face and we cannot see the expression of his face. Now we always encourage photos that are natural and are representative of our environment. So both photos are coming from the Barrett Scouts and Guides. And as you see, the first photo is the classroom setting, and even the lighting is not quite good. And for the second photo, it's very obvious that it is an outside setting. And I would like to mention that this photo won the gold prize in our APR photo contest. I think that was about 2 years ago. Okay, now we are done with the photos. And the next form is infographic. So infographic is the visual representation of information and data. So the elements could be text, image, chart, diagram. So the example that I'm giving here is one that was prepared by the World Scout Bureau, both global as well as the regional offices. And you see here the combination of text as well as the combination of images. Now I would like to emphasize that for every written word or image, they should be representative of the character of scouting. So we encourage words or images that are happy, outdoors, engaging, inspiring, challenging, and youthful. Okay, now we go to video or audio visuals. So I would like to say that there are things to prepare before a video shoot. And of course, the most important thing is the equipment, the camera, tripod, microphone, and other accessories. And another one is the concept or the topic of the video. So we should first identify the purpose of the video. We identify who our target audience is and the location of the video. Then we should have a production plan, and we should be able to coordinate with the scout group who we are covering in the video, as well as with the leaders who are involved. Then we should have a story outline and the primary characters. So the example that I gave earlier is Ruhi is a primary character, but we can also identify other characters or participants of an activity like the peers, the adolescents, the parents, as well as members of the community. And we should also have a shooting script, meaning a shot list, the venue, as well as the materials, as well as the people to be included in the video. And very important is that we have interview questions prepared beforehand, interview questions that are intended to the young people, intended for the parents, or intended for members. Okay, on my presentation, and may I request Madhu to share the video from the Pulse Scouts that we recently produced and uploaded in our Facebook. Madhu, is it okay to share the video? Hi, Madhu.
Well, I suppose there is a technical problem and we do not have Madhusar at the moment.
Maybe another partner is having the video. Can you just coordinate?
Maybe that should be okay while we are looking for that video. Perhaps we can already give the session to Kenny. Can Kenny take over? Would that be okay?
Sure.
Okay, let me just share my screen. Can you already see my screen?
Yes, Kenny, go ahead.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be back with the Bwf Scouts and Guides for this another round of webinars that we're doing. Now, let me continue where Lou stopped, particularly on impactful storytelling. She has already gave us the meat and the chunks of the content in the sense of what should be included as part of the content what should be avoided and what should be done. So for my part, allow me to give you some tips and tricks for impactful storytelling on Scout.org, because I think this is one part where India is very keen about posting their stories on Scout.org. Now, first, let me just continue what Lucy started. Storytelling, apart from all the things that she shared, I also need to highlight that storytelling is always a learning process. It's a learning process for the young person, for the scout, for the adult, and for those other people involved, including the writer and the reader. Storytelling as part of what scouting is doing, more than capturing the story, more than telling the numbers, sharing what events you participated in, it's more on being able to provide every young person with a learning opportunity, regardless if you are doing the story or if you are reading the story. There must always be a learning process on that part. As we say, storytelling is always a unique way for scouts and even non-scouts to develop understanding, to develop respect, and even appreciation for other people, for their cultures. And it also provides an opportunity to promote a positive attitude to people from different lands or different races, different creeds. And when we do storytelling, if we write a story, or most especially if we read stories, there are always those aha moments that we have. Now, what are these aha moments that we're referring to? When we say aha moments in storytelling is like these are a moment where you really have sudden insight. It's a moment of sudden discovery. It's something amazing. It's a wow moment that you learn something out of that particular story, that you gain something new, you learn something new just by reading in that particular story. And I think that should be one of the goals. That's one of the important goals in storytelling. More than telling your story, it's always an opportunity for you to teach other people, to impart new things to your readers, to other people. Primarily, if you try to take a look, what happens when there are aha moments in storytelling? First is an emotional connection is made. A storytelling provides us with an opportunity to emotionally connect with our readers and also to empathize for the needs of the community, for the causes of the community, just by way of putting writing stories about a particular cause, about a particular scout project, about a particular community development project. Storytelling also provides us with a moment of reflection, reflection on our personal experiences, and as well as our achievements. It provides opportunity for us to learn from those reflections, to share our experiences, and to learn from other people's experiences. Another important thing that we should understand when we do storytelling is storytelling is also a powerful tool, a way where we could forward and promote our advocacy, our causes, probably causes for what's the cause right now for the Barrett Scouting Guides. Most of your activities are geared on humanitarian action. Most of your activities are geared on environmental education. And most of your activities are on community transformation. So by telling your stories, by sharing your stories, putting it into words and sharing it not only to young people within India, but also to young people and all the people across the world, you are sharing and you are promoting your advocacy. This is what the Barrett Scouts and Guides are doing at the moment. This is our main focus area for our young people. Another important thing to understand is good stories always create a connection to transmit knowledge, to transmit values. As we have said earlier, as Bruce mentioned earlier, when you do a good story, you always teach something new to other people. You always teach them something about what you're doing in the Barrett Scouts and Guides, insights that might be helpful, and at the same time, you showcase them the values that there is in your particular scout organization. Your NSO might be espousing friendship, might be espousing courtesy, might be espousing helping other people at all times. So these are common values that are in scouting that are always transmitted, that are always shown by virtue of the stories that we tell and the stories that we share. And of course, another important consideration for storytelling is there is always a peer-to-peer inspiration and acknowledgement. More than telling your stories will also be able to inspire other young people from across the world and also to acknowledge the things that they are doing. It's a way of sharing what you are doing in India and at the same time inspiring other scouts from different parts of the world to actually do the same thing. Probably they will be inspired by the number of community development projects that you're doing that will let them think that we could also do these things at our level within our community. So going forward, let's take a look at how impactful storytelling works for Scout.org. How can we tell a good story, and how do we make these stories more appealing? Of course, we have to when we communicate on external channels, we need to understand how to frame, how we need to write the story. We need to understand what we want to reflect in the story, what we want to reflect in the content of what we are writing. This is like our mission, our vision in writing good stories. So whoever is writing, especially if a young person, young people are writing, or scout leaders are writing, whoever is writing must understand that what we want to reflect in the story is the impact of scouting and its values. What is scouting doing for the impact of the projects of the guides you're doing in the community, in your there is always a learning opportunity, that there is always a learning process in all of the activities that you are doing. And of course, a part of the content of that particular storytelling must also highlight the contribution of scouting towards young people to play a constructive role to showcase that scouting is not just about camping. Scouting is not just about activities, but it's also a way to for the holistic development of the young people. So all in all, if we communicate with our external channels or wherever we are communicating, we need to highlight two things. The first is to highlight the values, and of course, the second is to highlight the impact of that particular story, of that particular project to the young people, to the community, to the Barrack Scouts and Guides, or even to the nation as a whole. So it is very important that we reflect all of these things in our communications, in our storytelling, most especially that you are posting this on scout.org, though generally the audience on scout.org are young people, there are also a lot of public audiences because that's a public website that's readily available to everyone. Now, how does storytelling fit into the bigger picture? Why are we doing storytelling in the first place? What's so important about storytelling? What's so important about sharing stories? We always say, in the Asia Pacific, we always say that there are always a lot of good stories in the entire world, most especially in the Asia Pacific. In the Barrett Scouts and Guides alone, there are a lot of good stories, a lot of good scout stories, scout activities that are happening every day. It's just that what we lack is the number of people to actually tell those stories. So hopefully, after this webinar that you do, you get to inspire more people, or you yourselves will actually take the cudgels to actually inspire more young people to write stories and to share what's happening around them. So let's focus on the cycle that's reflected on the right side of your screen. Let's begin with this one. Let's begin with storytelling. The cycle begins with storytelling because when you write stories, when you publish stories, when you create stories, stories generate publicity. When you write stories, it generates publicity because you're telling the people what you are doing and the importance of the things that you are doing. It generates publicity for yourself, but more than that, for your scout group, for your NSO, and for the scout movement as a whole. Now, strong storytelling eventually gives you more visibility. By virtue of the things that you are doing, by virtue of the stories that you are posting, more people become aware of the things that is being done by the Bharat Scouts and Guides in their communities and in the nation as a whole. And with more visibility, you gain credibility. Credibility given by whom? Credibility given by partners, credibility given by donors, of your NSOs, of the government. And what is the proof of this one? This is just because they see your story as proof of what you are doing. Your stories that are being published on your website or on scout.org in print or online is adds more credence to the things that you are doing. That you tend to tell other people that we're effective at this because we have a direct what we are doing directly impacts the lives of other people, the lives of the young people, and the lives of the community. The more stories that you publish, the more opportunities, the more you build your credibility. Credibility in the sense that people will eventually believe that if we take a look with the Bad Scouts and Guides, they're very much effective in terms of the project that they're doing, in terms of their activities towards their communities. And with this increased credibility, credibility will eventually drive more funding. When donors, partner organizations, and even the government sees the Bad Scouts and Guides or a particular group within your NSO that are very much effective in the projects that they're doing, in the activities that they are doing, and the impact to the community is pretty much visible, it drives more funding. It gives those organizations more reason to actually invest or to actually provide funding to your organization because they know that you will be making something out of it, that you are proven and tested in terms of the projects and the work that you are doing. And with more funding, if you have enough funding from donors, from other people, from organizations, this will drive more projects. So with enough funding, you'll be able to do another set of projects towards the community. More people will be benefited by those projects. And with projects that you are doing, there is also another story to tell. So you see, the cycle goes on and on. With every project that you are doing, it gives you an opportunity to share your stories, to share your experiences with the world and with the rest of your scouts in India. Now, we also need to understand what's the benefit of actually having a strong storytelling. What's the difference between a good story and a not so good story? Of course, we need to understand that a good story further amplifies the positive impact of scouting on young people. We are providing visibility for scouting and actually tell other people that this is what we are doing. This is the impact of what we are doing, and this is why you should join us and be a part of the scout movement. It also supports advocacy efforts. The different advocacies that you have, you are able to forward them by virtue of those storytelling. There is no need to actually share a lot of reports, a lot of other things to other people or to other organizations, but actual stories being published in your website on scout.org will eventually gain more traction and will allow people to actually support your advocacy efforts. When you post stories, it also aids you in fundraising. When you try to source out for funding for your projects, for all of your initiatives, a good story is always a good part of that presentation. That you show them the actual things that you are doing, that you have done, and you are willing to do. Storytelling also inspires more young people. I think this is one thing that we need to emphasize. More than us telling a story, we always need to put premium on those stories because we might not know that there will always be people who will be inspired by the stories that we write. We see a lot of projects in different organizations, in different national organizations, being done by virtue of inspiration of the things that they read on scout.org, or the stories that they read that's being done in different parts of the world. And more importantly, this contributes to growth and retention. With more stories, with more traction, you inspire more young people to actually stay within the movement, and you inspire other young people to actually see the worth of the things that you're doing, actually join the scout movement. It further gives us credibility on the things that scouting is doing towards the young people, and ultimately informs and motivates our movement. Now, going forward, let's take a look at how do we write stories on scout.org. We will not delve too much on this. We will just do a quick view because Luz has already given you the essentials about this. So when you write a story for scout.org, the first that you need to do is you always need to select your topic and to narrow it down. Then when you write the story, always think in mind that you need to tell the reader, your readers, with something new. It could not be the same content of a story that's already published several years ago in other websites. Your story must not be redundant. Your story must not have the contents of your stories must not be highly reminiscent to other stories that's already out there. But you need to tell the reader something new. You need to offer them something new. You always start your stories with your action points or your hooks, and then you provide an explanation as to why it matters. When we say action point, we always tell them what happens and why does it matter. And by the hook, I mean this is the part of the story that makes you want to read. This is the part of the story that would make you want to click. When you go on a lot of stories online or even on scout.org, when you take a look at it, the hook is something that will actually make you tickle and actually click on that particular story because something is interesting, probably the headline or the first few lines of the story. And we need to keep your paragraph short. In doing storytelling, just always remember to keep your paragraph short. You are not writing a report. You are not sharing a whole text of everything that transpired, but you are sharing just a bird's eye view of the entire experience. Nobody wants to read a very long story or a very long report. So when we post stories on scout.org, let's keep it short and simple. And then you need to choose a title that's catchy, a title that explains the key achievement in your story. I'll show an example a little later. Again, as mentioned earlier with Luz also, we write out abbreviations. Again, the website is a public website. Though it's intended for scouts, other people from the general public are also into that website, and they do not know what BSG is. They do not know what NSO is. So we need to write out those abbreviations for them to be able to understand. And an important thing is, if you write a story, after you write a good story or after you write a story, you always need to ask somebody to actually take a look at it for you. Ask a pair of fresh eyes for the review. Let your fellow scout or let your scout reader read that particular story and provide you with insights, provide you with comments. What makes a story impactful are these particular things. The first is the context. When we refer to context, we tell us what is the status quo, what is this all about. These are the elements that make up an impactful story. Again, as we have said earlier, stories can just be simple photos with a description, but those stories could always be done better. We could provide more details. We could write what it's all about. We could write how many scouts participated, who did what. So the context is always about the situation that's around that particular story, the problem, what is it all about. For your story to be impactful, because this is a scout story, it always needs to be youth or child focused. This makes the story much stronger because scouting in the first place is youth focused. Again, as we have reiterated over and over, it's very much important to always show the impact in that particular story. The impact by way of, if you try to explain impact in a very short term, impact is like, think of the photos. When you take a photo of something, let's take for instance, you do a community cleanup. Do the community project, and after you did the community project, the changes that happened in that particular photo from before to now, or from then and now, before and after, is the impact of the thing doing. That's a very fast way to actually share what impact is all about. Then we also need to understand that there must also be quotes from leaders, from young people, testimonies, sharing one's experiences and reflections. And then, as mentioned by Luz, you always need to put good images. 2 to 3 images are ideal, but make sure that these are photos or images that tell the story of their own. That when you look at a, you need not to mince any words, but the photo actually tells you something about what the project is all about. And you also need to include figures, either number of people who attended, number of days. Figures add credibility to your stories. Now, let's take a look at some best practices that are available on scout.org. Take a look from this one. This is a story actually posted at scout.org on scouts evacuate residents affected by flood in Jakarta. This is in Indonesia. This is powerful because the story has all the essential elements. And if you try to take a look, regardless if you haven't read the content of the story, you have this tension on clicking and trying to read the story because of the photo. The photo is very strong. The title is very concise, coupled with a very powerful image. It makes you wonder what happened, and it raises your curiosity. There are just minimal details, but it tells you what you need to know. Another example of a good story posted on scout.org is this particular story, where it also encompasses your everyday story of perseverance, of determination. These are common, inspiring stories. Stories may not necessarily be may not be stories about how you participated in a particular event. Stories may not just be about your jamborees, about how many about camps, all of those. But good stories also can be inspiring. These are inspiring stories, personal experience stories being shared by young people, and you could always share that on scout.org. We also encourage you to post personal stories, especially those that highly reflect your experiences. Now let's go closer to home. This is a user-generated story on scout.org. Of course, this is from the Bharat Scouts and Guides. The title, when you read the title, Community Development Project on Scientific Agricultural Awareness, already tells you something what the project is all about. It raises your curiosity, and the story is just short, but it captures all of the essential details. So we need to have more stories like this. Stories that tell us, stories that inspire other people, stories that have all the complete elements. Do not treat scout.org or content on scout.org as Facebook, where you just post statuses or how what you are feeling right now, what you are doing right now. That's not the point about it. Scout.org is your opportunity to actually tell your story to the world, to actually share at the worth of the projects, of the things that you are doing, on what scouting has contributed to you as a person and to you and to the institution as a whole. And we also need to understand that when you post stories on scout.org, even on whatever website, even on social, there is an opportunity for those stories to be amplified on our networks, on our channels. Particularly, if you post a story on scout.org, it will be picked up by staffers in the World Scout Bureau, which will eventually take a look at those stories. If those stories are good, then you might be reached out by the World Scout Bureau for you to be able to provide more details about the stories. Or if that story is very good, it could even be, trigger a video documentary about that particular project, which is exactly what happened for projects in India, for projects in Nepal, for projects in the Philippines. So these are all stories which were picked up directly from scout.org. So it's always okay that when you post your stories on scout.org, you could always share that on social media channels, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, whatever social channels you are using, because it amplifies the stories of what you are doing. It also has the opportunity to be published on the members portal. Members portal is internal to your leaders, but this will be shown across all leaders within all NSOs in the world. As I said, there is a possibility for an in-depth story or a documentary video for MOSM, depending on the content, depending on the impact and the weight of the story that you are publishing on scout.org. And eventually, it will give you an opportunity to have this particular stories reshared or published with a more in-depth aspect of writing. And lastly, it builds relations with media organizations that would want coverage for scouting, because when they would want to cover the scout movement, more details of the things that you're doing, one of the things that they will really go about is your website, either the WASM website or your website on the Barrett Scouts and Guides. So it's always good to actually make sure that you post stories. You post good stories, good scout stories in your own website, in scout.org, or print them online on other websites or in print. Now, as the last part of my presentation, here is a user-friendly model to upload the story of your projects and your initiatives on scout.org. The first, when you would want to post a story on scout.org, you need to understand that you need to choose a category of the post that you are writing. Is it a project? Is it a post? But what's the difference anyway? When we say a projects are carried out to address a community need or to make a positive transformation. Projects, the author shares stories about the cause, the before and after effects, testimonials. When we refer to posts are activities that you participate in, that scouts participate in. The author wants to share with others the experiences, and activities can be camping, trainings, meetings, moods, etc. I think this is one of the things that you really need to work on with the Barrett Scouts and Guides, because most of the content that you're doing is you're posting it as a project, but it does not actually have a service R. If it's just a matter of participating in a particular activity, particular camp, then it should be a post. Here's a guide stories in 7 easy steps. These questions are not designed to hamper your progress, but it's just there to help you out on how to actually do your stories on scout.org. The first is, you need to ask yourself before writing the story, is it a community service or a report of scout activities? That's the first question, because you need to answer that if it's a project or a post. If it's a project that involves community services, then do it as a project. But if it's just that you participated in event, as I've said, it should be a post. The second question is the title in my post able to explain what the project is all about? There's no need for a very long and lengthy title. A short and catchy title that encapsulates what the project is all about is already good. The content of my story provide information about what, how, when, all of those W questions which Luz presented earlier. What was the project all about? How was the project executed? What is the impact of my action in the community? When and where was my project executed? How many scouts are involved in the project or in the activity? These are all essential items that need to be included in stories for it to be considered as a full and a good story. And does the photos or videos included in my post show actions done in the project? That's an important thing. But in terms of photos, we need to understand that when you share photos, what scouting wants is the photos of young people. There is no point in sharing photos of scout leaders attending a program, yes, to some extent, but the highlight of those particular scout activities, they should be youth focused. The highlight should be young people doing positive actions. It should not always be the highlight. The story is about young people, but the photos reflect adult leaders, scout leaders, your commissioners delivering a message, your other leaders attending a ribbon cutting or whatever kind of activities, but the story is focused on young people. It's a mismatch. So we always need to understand that the stories should be youth focused and the photos should also be youth focused. So these guiding questions will help you decide on how to proceed and how to write with your stories, coupled with what Lucia shared earlier. So lastly, again, when you do a project, when you post on scout.org, you need to mentally ask your question, is this a service project? Is a post? If the answer to the question is, this is a community service project that has benefited a community and its people, then you choose a project. If your answer to the question is, this is a scout activity or event that I participated, or this is a post about scouting or general information about scouting, then it should be a post. It's a matter of actually determining what is the appropriate kind of that particular story and what's the appropriate content. So again, it's very important to do this scout stories because these are important facets of how we share what we are doing, what the impact of scouting is, and what good things is being done by young people across India towards for the information of the general public and the other people. So this ends my presentation, but what I want you to do at the end of the day is you need to replicate this kind of sessions, storytelling sessions with your teams and with your young people, and always for the National Scout Organization to provide a contact point for your NSO in helping you moderate content. I know there are a lot of work being done in terms of moderating content on Scout.org coming from the Barrett Scouts and Guides, but it's always a good thing that there is somebody at least per region or within the NSO who would be able to guide the young people on how to do and to write their stories. So that's it on my part. Thank you very much. I hope you learned something about this. I'm turning it over to the Master of Ceremony.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful session on storytelling, and it will definitely help our members. Once again, I'd like to thank you.
Because we have the video by Luz ma'am, so we can play it now.
Okay, but do we have time for our panelists? Do we have time for the video?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Retno Puspitasari. I'm a teacher in SMN 53 Jakarta. So I want to share my experience as a.
Sorry. Sorry, I don't think that this is the video. I think it should be okay. We can go ahead with the question and answer if we still have time.
Yeah, definitely we have time for another 5 to 7 minutes. Yes, technical team. Yes, Mr. Anil.
Yes, ma'am. There is one question in the two question is there in A button.
Yeah.
Madam Lewis, can you hear me? Lewis, can you hear me? Are you going to this center of how to get experience of integrating inquiry and storytelling? One question from Dr. Emmanuel Raj from Tamil Nadu.
Okay, the on how to get experience of integrating inquiry and storytelling. I think for this is the point about integrating inquiry and storytelling. I think the very idea of storytelling is to share your experiences, what you have been doing, and I think there is always an opportunity for you, for the writer, to actually integrate some questions or some inquiries, some insights, insightful comments, or some realizations, some testimonials within those storytelling. So I think it could be integrated, but not necessarily as a form of a general inquiry, but more on the idea of sharing your insights about a particular thing. But it really depends on how you frame the story, on how the story is written.
Thank you, sir, for answer. And I think there is no more question from the viewers. So I request the MC to invite our executive director, Mr. Swami sir, for translate and sum up the session.
Okay, sir. Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir, for your wonderful session on storytelling. And definitely it will help the members of BHG. अब मैं आमंत्रित करना चाहता हूं हमारे एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर बीएसजी श्री कृष्ण स्वामी रामामूर्ति सर को आज के सेशन के संक्षिप्त हिंदी अनुवाद के लिए। सर प्लीज।
आज की जो वार्ता था इसमें हमने ये देखा है कि हमारे बहुत सारे क्रियाकलाप होते हैं और इनको हम दूसरे के सामने कैसे प्रस्तुत करें, और इसको प्रस्तुत करने के समय इसको एक कथानक के रूप में हम दूसरों के सामने प्रभावशाली रूप से कैसे रखेंगे। आज के दो वक्ताओं ने हमें इन चीजों को हम कैसे प्रभावशाली बना सकते हैं उस बारे में हमें कुछ टिप्स दिया। पहला वक्ता की जो कथानक दूसरों के सामने रखने के समय हमें जिन बिंदुओं में ध्यान देना चाहिए, पहला है कि हमारे सामने इसको देखने वाले श्रोता या देखने वाला कौन है। पहला तो हमारे स्काउट दल के युवा साथी है, और उसके आगे हमारे समाज में जो युवा जो इन कहानियों से प्रेरित होकर अपने समाज में और इस कार्य को आगे बढ़ा सकते हैं या इसी तरह के दूसरे कार्य को कर सकते हैं, वो है जो हमें संस्थागत रूप से जो दानदाता होते हैं उन्हें ध्यान में रखते हुए हमें अपनी जो पोस्ट रखना चाहिए। हमारे जो सरकार और जो मीडिया जो हमारे कार्यों को सराहना कर सकती है, उनके सामने हमारे प्रस्तुतियां सही रूप से रखना चाहिए। और आम तौर पर जो सभी समाज के लोग जो हमारे प्रस्तुतियां देखते हैं उनको ध्यान में रखते हुए हमें इन चीजों को सामने रखना चाहिए। विश्व स्काउट संगठन की एशिया पैसिफिक क्षेत्र के फेसबुक के बारे में बताया कि इसमें 45% 18 और 24 साल के उम्र के लोग हैं और 37% पुरुष और 23% महिला। विश्व स्काउट संगठन में पुरुषों की सदस्यता ज्यादा है, इस वजह से हो सकता है उनकी फेसबुक में 23% ही महिलाएं हैं, परंतु हमारे कोई भी पोस्ट जब जनरल पब्लिक में जाता है दोनों को ही सामने ध्यान में रखते हुए हमें लिखना चाहिए। कोई भी चीज को लिखने के समय पहले देखना है इस कथानक में मुख्य बिंदु या कथापात्र कौन है, उसको हमें ध्यान में रखना है। दूसरा, जिस कार्य के बारे में हम बताना चाह रहे हैं वो स्काउटिंग के लिए कितना महत्वपूर्ण है या इस चीज को हम क्यों कहना चाह रहे हैं। तीसरा, इस परियोजना या कार्यक्रम किस तरीके से किया गया या ये दूसरों की जीवन में कैसे प्रभाव डालता है, ये कथानकों में तीसरा बिंदु होना चाहिए। हमने इस परियोजना या कार्य को कैसे किया, ये तीसरा बिंदु होगा। और आखिरी में कौन, क्यों और कहां, इनके अलावा अगर कोई चीज इस परियोजना के माध्यम से या क्रियाकलाप के माध्यम से हमने हासिल किया हो, उसे भी हमें प्रस्तुत करनी चाहिए। ये किसी भी अच्छा कथानक दूसरों के सामने प्रेषित करने की एक रूपरेखा है। आगे बढ़ते हुए कथानक के आखिरी में हमें ये लिखना चाहिए, हम सामाजिक तौर पर युवा साथियों से और समाज से क्या चाहते हैं या हम उनको क्या प्रेरणा देते हैं। इस चीज को हमारे कथानक के आखिरी में हमें रखना चाहिए। जो प्रस्तुतियां हम रखते हैं उसको लिखने की जो कला है, एक पैराग्राफ में कोई एक विषय वस्तु ही लिखना है। पहले पैराग्राफ में हम क्यों इस कार्य को किया, दूसरे में कैसे किया, क्यों किया और इससे हमें क्या उपलब्ध हुआ या हमारे सामने से इन कार्यों को देखने वाले व्यक्ति इसमें से क्या प्रेरणा लेना चाहिए, वो एक पैराग्राफ में होना चाहिए। और आखिरी में या जब कथानक पूर्ण होता है हम दूसरों से क्या उम्मीद करते हैं ये प्रस्तुत करना चाहिए। हमें ये भी बताया कि अंग्रेजी में जो रिपोर्ट्स या स्टोरीज बताने के समय क्या सावधानियां रखना चाहिए या नया रिपोर्टिंग फॉर्मेट्स में किन चीजों को उपयोग में नहीं लाया जाता है। ये 2 स्लाइड्स में आपको बताया गया। सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात यह बताया गया कि इन कहानियों को बताने के लिए हम जिन चित्रों की या फोटोग्राफ्स की मदद लेते हैं, उन फोटोग्राफ्स या चित्र दूसरों को प्रेरणादायक होना चाहिए। उनमें से उन्हें एक ऐसे महत्वपूर्ण कार्य दिखना चाहिए कि स्काउट्स इन कार्यों में कैसे अपने आप को समावेश करके काम कर रहे हैं। तो स्टिल फोटोग्राफ्स और ग्रुप फोटोग्राफ्स को हमें इन कार्यों के लिए उपयोग में नहीं लाना चाहिए। स्काउटिंग की जो पहचान है, हमारा स्कार्फ, बार्ज, यूनिफॉर्म, क्रियाकलापों के जो फोटोग्राफ्स या चित्र हम सेलेक्ट करते हैं, ये सिंबल्स की होना बहुत जरूरी है ताकि स्काउट आइडेंटिटी या हम स्काउट्स के माध्यम से इन कार्यों को किया, ये चित्रों से दूसरे व्यक्तियों के सामने प्रस्तुत हो जाता है। तीसरा, जब भी चित्रों को हम इस्तेमाल करते हैं उसमें उम्र, जेंडर और जो कल्चर है उसके जो विविधता है वो उसमें दृश्य होना चाहिए, इसलिए कि सामने वाला व्यक्ति इससे प्रेरणा ले सकता है। कोई भी चित्र जब इस्तेमाल करते हैं, ये एक्शन फोटोग्राफ्स नेचुरल होना चाहिए। जो फोटोज हम नॉर्मली सेल्फीज के लिए पोस्ट करके जो खींचते हैं, ऐसे चित्र रिपोर्टिंग में इस्तेमाल नहीं करना चाहिए। चित्रों को जब प्रस्तुत करते हैं, चेहरा और चेहरे में जो भाव उत्पन्न होता है वो सामने दृश्य होना चाहिए। 2 चित्र आपको प्रस्तुत किया गया था, जिसमें एक बहुत नजदीक से बच्चों के चेहरे और उनके भाव को दर्शाती है, दूसरा चेहरा किसी का भी नहीं दिखता है। तो ऐसे जो चित्रों को हमें इस्तेमाल नहीं करना चाहिए। जो भी चित्र लिया जाता है वो नेचुरल सराउंडिंग्स में होना चाहिए, ताकि उसका इफेक्ट ज्यादा होता है। आखिरी में जब इंफोग्राफिक्स के रूप में जब प्रस्तुति की जाती है, उसमें रंगों की चयन और उसके अंदर जो फॉन्ट्स या साइज जिसकी इस्तेमाल की जाती है, उसमें बहुत ध्यान देना चाहिए। जब कहानियां लिखा जाता है, उसमें कुछ बिंदुओं को बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण तरीके से देखना चाहिए कि जो स्टोरी इसकी आउटकम होगा या इसकी जो अंत में जो व्यक्ति को जो भावना पैदा होगी, उसमें युवक उनके सामने खुशी और सकारात्मक विचार और एक प्रेरणादायी कहानी प्रस्तुत की जानी चाहिए। वीडियो बनाने के लिए जब तैयारियां करते हैं, उससे जुड़ा हुआ पूरे इक्विपमेंट्स पहले से तैयार होना चाहिए। हम क्या चित्रण करने वाले हैं, उस विषय वस्तु के बारे में, इस चित्रण की हमारे उद्देश्य क्या है, ये किसको दर्शाने के लिए हम इसका आलेखन कर रहे हैं और कौन सी ऐसे परिवेश या लोकेशन में हम इसको चित्रण कर रहे हैं, इन चीजों को ध्यान में रखना चाहिए। इसको बनाते वक्त एक दूसरे के साथ कैसे हम जुड़े रहेंगे और जिस कहानी या जिस कार्य को हम प्रस्तुत करने वाले हैं, उसकी रूपरेखा क्या होगा और इसमें मुख्य रूप में कौन कौन सी किरदार अदा करेंगे, और जब इसको चित्रण किया जाएगा, चित्रण की रूपरेखा क्या होगा, पहले कौन आएगा, क्या प्रस्तुति होगी, कैसे सवाल जवाब पूछा जाएगा, सवाल क्या होंगे, ये पहले से तैयार होनी चाहिए, ताकि एक अच्छा वीडियो शूट की जा सकती है या ऑडियो रिकॉर्डिंग की जा सकती है। हमें एक सक्सेसफुल स्टोरी टेलिंग के लिए ये देखते ही दूसरों के सामने मतलब उनके अंदर एक ऐसे उद्वेग होना चाहिए कि उसको देखते ही उनके अंदर एक इंस्पिरेशन होनी चाहिए। तो जब कहानियां बताई जाती है, पहला जो उनके अंदर की जो वैकारात्मक जो जुड़ाव है वो दिखना चाहिए। दूसरा, समाज में अगर हम उनकी जगह होते तो उनकी जरूरतों को और उनकी इस प्रोजेक्ट या क्रियाकलाप के प्रति उनकी क्या जरूरत है, उसको हम कैसे प्रस्तुत कर सकते हैं, वो सोच होना चाहिए। दूसरा, इसके अंदर से हमने क्या प्राप्त किया या हमें क्या अनुभव हुआ इस क्रियाकलाप के माध्यम से या प्रोजेक्ट के माध्यम से, वो इस कहानी के माध्यम से दूसरों तक पहुंचना है। तीसरा, हम किस कार्य के लिए किसी कार्यक्रम का आयोजन किया या ये किस तरफ लोगों की विचार को आकर्षित करने के लिए था। तात्पर्य यह है कि अगर हमने समाज में कुरीतियों के खिलाफ काम किया है, तो काम की जो रिपोर्ट होगा वो समाज में इस कुरीति की उनके ऊपर क्या प्रभाव है उसके बारे में एक जानकारी देने वाली होनी चाहिए। कहानी जब लिखा जाता है, ये हमारे स्काउट संस्था के बारे में दूसरों को जानकारी देना चाहिए तथा स्काउटिंग किन वैल्यूज या किन सामान्य नियमों के लिए जाना जाता है या स्काउटिंग के बारे में समाज के अंदर क्या विचार होना चाहिए, ये हमारी प्रस्तुति में मालूम होना चाहिए। आखिरी लेकिन महत्वपूर्ण यह है कि युवाओं के कार्यक्रम से दूसरा युवाओं को प्रेरणा मिलना चाहिए और सामने वाला युवा ये महसूस करना है कि मैं भी ऐसे कार्य कर सकता हूं। अगर स्काउट्स इस कार्य को कर सकते हैं तो उनकी उम्र में मैं भी इसी कार्य को कर सकता हूं, ऐसा एक प्रेरणा का भाव उनमें उत्पन्न होना चाहिए। आखिरी में जब भी हम स्काउटिंग से जुड़े हुए कार्यों को बाहर प्रस्तुत करते हैं, उनके साथ जुड़ा हुआ चित्र या जो कार्य है वो समाज के अंदर एक सकारात्मक प्रवृत्ति को लाने में सक्षम होनी चाहिए तथा स्काउटिंग जिन विकास और शिक्षा कार्य के लिए जाना जाता है, ये सामने प्रस्तुत की जानी चाहिए। आखिरी में एक कहानी या कथानक क्यों हम रखते हैं, इसके महत्वपूर्ण बिंदुओं के बारे में बताया। हमने जो कार्य किया उसकी दायरे को बढ़ाती है। हमने एक छोटा समूह के रूप में जो कार्य किया उसकी सकारात्मक जो रिजल्ट आई है, ये दूसरों को मालूम होता है। इसके माध्यम से इसकी जो दायरा जो है बढ़ता है। ये हम जिन कार्यों के लिए या जिन उद्देश्यों को सामने रखते हुए कार्य करते हैं, उसके लिए समाज की तरफ से मददगार भी साबित होता है। हमारी कहानियों को पढ़ने के बाद जो दानदाता या डोनर्स है, वो हमारे कार्यक्रमों में और बढ़ चढ़कर दान दे सकते हैं और हिस्सा दे सकते हैं। हमारे कहानियों के माध्यम से दूसरा युवाओं को ऐसा प्रेरणा मिलता है कि अगर मेरे उम्र के स्काउट्स गाइड्स इस कार्य को कर रहे हैं, इसको मैं भी करूंगा। तीसरा, हमारे कार्यक्रमों के माध्यम से हम युवाओं को हमारे साथ जुड़े रखने और नए युवाओं को जोड़ने में और संस्था के विकास करने में हम सक्षम हो सकते हैं। बाहर से जो भी व्यक्ति हमारी कार्यक्रमों को देखता है, उन्हें यह मालूम होगा सही में कार्य हो रहा है। हम जब समाज में कार्य करते हैं, जब रिपोर्ट्स में हमारे कार्य करते हुए चित्रण होती है, स्काउट यूनिफॉर्म या स्काउट चिन्ह, स्कार्फ या किसी बाड्ज के रूप में हमारे कार्य के समय हमारे वर्दी में या वर्दी में जब नहीं होते हैं तब स्काउटिंग के जुड़े हुए जब सिंबल्स होते हैं, समाज में हमारे कार्यों को सराहना मिलती है। और इसके साथ साथ जो अभी वर्ल्ड वाइड जो प्लेटफॉर्म उपलब्ध है, दूसरे राज्यों को और दूसरे राष्ट्रों को भी हमारे कार्य से प्रेरणा मिलती है। आखिरी में जब आप scout.org के लिए जब अपनी प्रस्तुतियां देना चाहेंगे, जो टॉपिक लिखा जाएगा वो संक्षिप्त में होना चाहिए और आपकी तरफ से जो पढ़ने वाले लोग हैं उनको कोई नया चीज मिलनी चाहिए। और आप जब लिखेंगे छोटे पैराग्राफ्स में अपने बात को रखना चाहिए और जो टाइटल्स होगा वो कैची होना चाहिए। 1000 परिवार को स्काउट्स ने बचाया, 10 क्विंटल से ज्यादा खाद्य सामग्री वितरित किया गया, हमारे खून आपके जान को बचाएगा, हमारे खून आपके लिए। इस तरह के कैची टाइटल्स होना चाहिए ताकि सामने वाला टाइटल को देखते ही आगे पढ़ने के लिए प्रेरित होगा। और स्काउटिंग से बाहर के लोग कुछ ऐसे संक्षिप्त अब्रिविएशंस को नहीं समझ पाएंगे, HWB, ALT, LT, DCC अपने वक्तव्यों से बाहर रखनी चाहिए। ये इस विवरण का संक्षिप्त था। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर, आपके बहुमूल्य शब्दों के लिए। आशा है आपको शब्दों को हमारे जितने भी सदस्य हैं वो प्रेरणा लेंगे इन शब्दों से। नाउ आई वुड लाइक टू कॉल अपॉन श्री अमर बी छेत्री सर, डेप्यूटी डायरेक्टर बॉय प्रोग्राम फॉर Q&A evaluation through Google Form, which were asked by our members from the very beginning of this webinar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Luj and Kenny for the beautiful session that you have delivered to our young people on storytelling. Thank you so much for your inputs. And definitely our young people have learned and got the new idea about storytelling. And I'm sure we are number one at present in uploading the projects in Asia Pacific region. And I'm sure that our young people will definitely continue this initiative and we will remain in number one. Thank you so much. It's time for the evaluation of our webinar. We have prepared a Google form. हमने गूगल फॉर्म डेवलप किया है। आप सभी जो हमारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं, आप लोगों ने ये 8 दिवसीय जो वेबिनार किया है, इसके बारे में आपको कैसा लगा? You can give your views so that our team can evaluate and we can rectify for future such webinars. And if anything is left over, definitely we can organize other webinar to give you full knowledge. So we would like to have a screen shot as well as the question and answer is in your chat box. You can go through the chat box. Yes, Anil, we are ready.
Sir, already it is in the chat box, so they can go for this, fill up this form. This is the form, event feedback. So it is there in chat box, they can fill and send back to us.
You can take your own time, fill this Google form and you can send back to us. We will reevaluate this form and definitely will come up to your expectation. And if there is anything left over, then we'll definitely try to hold another webinar so that more knowledge can be imparted to our young people as well as unit leaders to reach these World Scout programs up to the grassroots. We are coming to the second part of this webinar. Today is the closing ceremony. So now we'll sit for the closing ceremony and I request Luj and Kenny, if you are not so much engaged with your hectic schedule, you are requested to be in the closing ceremony of the webinar.
Hi everyone, I think I'll have to excuse myself because I have another meeting to catch at 2:30 in the afternoon here in Manila. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Kenny,
so much,
for
Kenny.
joining us.
Thank you so much, Kenny and Luj. We need your support frequently. in other
Yes,
such
of course.
programs. And definitely, we are sure that you will support Bharat Scouts and Guides. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much. Our lines are always open. Thank you very much and have a good closing.
Thank you, Kenny.
Congratulations for this wonderful event.
Thank you so much, sir. So now we have come to the end of the program. We are nearing to the closing ceremony. Storytelling is very important in everybody's life. Everyone has their own part of story. When it comes to a scout, it's not only about him, but it's about his community and the well-being of everybody. So
This is
now,
Khalid here. What's happening? I can't hear.
very good afternoon, sir. Could you please check on your speaker on the left corner, top? I request the technical team to help out Khalid, sir. So now it's time for the closing ceremony. As I said, every scout has their own story. Every person has their own story. When it comes to a scout, it's about his community and the well-being of his community. Now, I request all the guests to open their videos so that they stay on screen. And I request everybody to raise for prayer.
दया कर दान भक्ति का हमें परमात्मा देना दया करना हमारी आत्मा में शुद्धता देना हमारे ध्यान में आओ प्रभु आँखों में बस जाओ अंधेरे दिल में आकर के परम ज्योति जगा देना बहादो प्रेम की गंगा दिलों में प्रेम का सागर हमें आपस में मिलजुल कर प्रभु रहना सिखा देना हमारा कर्म हो सेवा हमारा धर्म हो सेवा सदा ईमान हो सेवा वो सेवक चल बना देना वतन के वास्ते जीना वतन के वास्ते मरना वतन पर जान फिदा करना प्रभु हमको सिखा देना दया कर दान भक्ति का हमें परमात्मा देना दया करना हमारी आत्मा में शुद्धता देना
Thank you so much. Now, I request our dynamic director, sir, Shri Rajkumar Kaushik ji, to give away his words.
Thank you, Abrar. Our respected Dr. K. Kandalwal, Chief National Commissioner, Mr. Ahmed Khalid, Additional Chief National Commissioner, PGR Sindhya ji, our Secretary General, and State Chief Commissioner Karnataka, Dr. H. Shetri, our Chief Commissioner Scout, and all the other distinguished officials. On behalf of Bharat Guides National Quarter and its staff, as well as on behalf of all the participants of the webinar, we heartily welcome all of you, sir. And really, we are very grateful to you that all of you have spared your time for closing ceremony of this our special webinar, which we have conducted for the youth of our country. And the detail of the webinar will be informed by the leader or the in charge of the webinar. So on the behalf of BHG India, once again, I heartily welcome all of you. And I think Monty ji has not joined us today, so because he is having his own webinar. So once again, hearty welcome to all of you. Thank you. Over to Amara.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful welcome address. Now, I would like to request Sir Amar Bahadur Chhetri, Deputy Director Boy Program of the Bharat Scout and Guide, for the report of the webinar. Sir, please.
Thank you, Vikas. Good morning to all the honorable dignitaries, Honorable Chief National Commissioner, Honorable Additional Chief National Commissioner, Shri M.A. Khalicha, Honorable Secretary General, President in Council, Bharat Scouts and Guides National Association, Shri P.G.S. India, sir, Honorable Chief Commissioner Scout, Dr. H.P. Chhetri, sir, Honorable Deputy International Commissioner Scout, Shri Madhusudan Avala, sir, respected Director, Shri Rajkumar Kaushik, sir, respected Joint Directors, Deputy Directors, Assistant Directors, ROCs of Bharat Scouts and Guides, participants of this webinar, and our hardworking staff members of this webinar. It is indeed a great pleasure to submit a short report about this virtual webinar on behalf of the NSO in front of our honorable office bearers of the Bharat Scouts and Guides. Sir, as we all are aware, due to prevailing novel COVID-19 pandemic in the country, national headquarters had to make the difficult decision to suspend activity following advice and policies of the government. The safety, well-being, and health of scouts and guides remain our primary concern. In this crucial period, the Bharat Scouts and Guides National Headquarters has organized number of online programs for the youth and adult leaders of the movement starting from April 2020. Similarly, the ongoing webinar on World Scout program entitled Better World Framework is also organized to engage young people digitally to impart knowledge about various World Scout programs initiated by the World Organization of the Scout Movement. Total 2,788 youths as well as adult leaders had registered from 52 state associations in this webinar. Due to limitation of number as a panelist in the webinar, one representative from each state association has represented as a delegate, and the rest are attending the webinar through the live stream in Bharat Scouts and Guides YouTube channel, and we could see enthusiastic participation from which covers about 6,000 viewers daily. The webinar was organized for 8 days in 2 phases. The webinar was inaugurated by the Regional Director of World Scout Bureau Asia Pacific Support Center. The webinar is addressed and blessed by many top-level officers of the Bharat Scouts and Guides. Such World Scout initiative at a stroke is organized for the first time by the Bharat Scouts and Guides National Association, which created milestone in the history of the organization. The webinar is supported by World Scout Bureau Global Support Center as well as Asia Pacific Support Center by deputing resource speakers daily to deliver inputs on various subjects like Messenger of Peace, Champion for Nature Challenge, Scouts for SDGs, Scouts of the World Award, Dialogue for Peace, Scouts Go Solar, Diversity and Inclusion, Storytelling, etc. The webinar also had an opportunity to discuss in length about the upcoming International Day of Peace scheduled on 21st September 2020 to celebrate in a befitting manner in the organization at all levels, from home or virtually on the theme announced by the United Nations, Shaping Peace Together. The webinar is initiated by the Director Bharat Scouts and Guides for implementation of the World Scout program in the National Scout Organization up to the grassroots. We are sure this webinar created impact among our young people to implement further at the unit level. Sure, I would especially like to mention here that the success of this webinar goes to 27 young people from various state associations, and they are none other than the messengers of peace, state as well as local coordinators, who were working day and night for more than a month to create a milestone under the leadership of Mr. Anilendra Sharma, Assistant Director, Northeast Region, and his team of staff of regional offices of RSQ any region for making it a grand success and a memorable one. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your short report of the webinar. Now I take privilege to call upon Dr. H.P. Chhetri, sir, Chief Commissioner Scout of Bharat Scout and Guide, to deliver blessing address. Sir, please.
Hello, good morning to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Respected CNC, Khandevalji, Additional CNC, Khalid, Secretary General, President and Council, Sindhyaji, International Commissioner, Mr. Mohanty, and all those who are attending this program. My warm regards and scouting salutes to all of you. A week-long World Scout program in webinar on Better World Framework, imparting training to more than 10 different fields of scouting have come to an end. Officers and officials of APR as well as World Scout Organization like Director APR, JR, Prasanna, Cynthia, Ellie, Peter Blatch, Luz, Kenny, and officials of Bharat Scouts and Guides deserves appreciation and heartiest congratulations for successfully conducting the program. Secretary General Wisdom support certainly encourage the resource person as well the trainees. Sir, my warm regards and thanks for the support. Participants from different states, without your participation, the program would have not been successful. My warm appreciation and congratulations to all of you. The Bharat Scouts and Guides will certainly honor the international effort to train our scouters and guiders. We will certainly honor and implement the program in the states as well as and supervise as well as in the unit levels. Mr. Khalid, my old friend, we often used to meet in abroad rather than in NSQ. Now we'll be often be meeting in NSQ. You are welcome officially, and we'll work together and give a strong support to the CNC. Thank you very much.
Abrar, proceed further.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now I may request Shri PGR Sindhya, sir, Secretary General, to share a few words. So kindly unmute. Perfect.
Can you hear me? Amar?
Loud and clear. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, clear.
Respected Chief National Commissioner, Sri Khandelwalji, Mohantiji, Khalid, Chetri Sir, and our Director, Mr. Rajkumar Kaushik, Krishna Swami, Darshana Pawar, Machama, Amar Chetri, and other officers and office bearers of the Forest Scouts and Guides India. I congratulate our Chief National Commissioner, Sri Khandelwalji, and also Mr. Anil Jain, our Honorable President, for keeping all these youngsters busy during this hour of pandemics. Our national headquarters has been conducting several programs for the month of April after this coronavirus has affected the world and particularly our country very badly. During this time, though the academic institutions are closed all over the country, it was necessary that we should keep our cadre engaged. In two aspects, for scouts and guides all over the country, whether they are scout guides, cubs and bulbuls, or rovers and rangers, they have been kept lively. Number one, conducting many competitions like singing, painting, and campfires, and also conducting webinars, inviting eminent personalities of the country. Secondly, I am very happy that the national headquarters conducted programs like Sankalp. I got the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi's favorite programs, and I am so happy to know that all over the country, our rovers and rangers, scout leaders and guide captains, and our teachers, adult leaders, they have done a wonderful job during this pandemic period, whether it is stitching masks, distributing masks, doing service, helping citizens, helping the migrant workers, in all aspects throughout the length and breadth of this country. The Bharat Scouts and Guides, because of the earlier leaders, for last more than 50 years after independence, our elderly leaders, they struggled. They earned a very big name to this organization and a respect to this uniform. All over the country, our scout guides have done a wonderful job, which has been appreciated by the society by and large, and also by the various state governments. In this respect, particularly this webinar which has been conducted for this Better World Framework is a wonderful program. Particularly keeping in view of the things like solar energy, skill developments, and work during the pandemics, this is definitely going a very, very long way to go. In India, we have a very good education system. Recently, last week only, the new education policy has come. Definitely, it will bring a lot of changes, emotional changes from primary to postgraduate level in the entire education system in the country. But at the same time, we also have to change. Scouts and guides, we also have to adopt the new things which are happening, whether it is in the field of the information technology or science field or any walks of life for that matter. For that, it is necessary that we upgrade ourselves. In this respect, the Sustainable Development Goals which has been initiated by the United Nations Organization, which has been accepted by our national headquarters also to adopt and make programs based on these SDGs is really excellent programs. Youngsters, I am so happy that more than 6,000 boys and girls all over the country have participated in these webinars. I am sure in the days to come, you youngsters who have participated in this webinar, who have gained so much of knowledge, you will go back, tell your friends, tell your relatives, tell your neighbors the importance of scouts and guides, and take the message of service to the society, which is very much essential. Particularly during this period of pandemics, you don't know, there is a lot of uncertainty when the virus is going to end. Honorable Prime Minister has said that we have to learn to live with Corona. Yes, partly he is right. We are also have to live and also earn. For that, we have to live together with Corona only. During this point of time, we, the Scouts and Guides who have been trained, who are known for service, we should have a more effective role to play. In this direction, I am sure keeping our cadre intact and making them to grow through this information technology method is an excellent thing which our national headquarters under the dynamic leadership of Mr. Khandelwal, who is a visionary by himself. He has got a lot of creative ideas, and also he is the most influential bureaucrat in our country. He is the right person to lead this youth movement in the country, which he has been doing his best. He is doing his best. I am grateful to Khandelwalji for appointing Mr. M.A. Khalid, who is an experienced person, was the International Commissioner for several years, who has been inspiring many youngsters. I am sure he will join the national headquarters to strengthen our programs and implementing that. I am very, very confident of that because of his background, his contacts in the international level will definitely help the Scouts and Guides to grow in this country. With these two words, I would like to congratulate the national headquarters for arranging such a wonderful program. I congratulate all the participants who are attending this webinar. Wish you all the best. Stay home, stay safe, do service as much as you can. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your inspiring words. Now I take privilege to call upon Sri Madhusudan A.S. Sir, Deputy International Commissioner Scout BSG, for the closing remarks of the webinar.
Well, Vikas, I suppose Madhu sir couldn't connect with us due to some internet problem. So now I would take the privilege to call Shri M.A. Khalid sir, retired Karnataka Administrative Services, Additional Chief National Commissioner, Bharat Scouts and Guides, to share a few words. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. After having heard great leaders like Mr. P.J.R. Scindia, who has, in a way, I should say, revolutionized Zoom meetings, webinars in Karnataka.
Apologies for the delay. Sir, are you able to hear us?
You are not able to hear?
I believe your internet connection is a little poor, sir. Could you start again?
Is it all right?
Yes, perfect, sir.
Okay. I was just saying that you heard our great leaders, Mr. P.J.R. Scindia and Mr. Shetty, speaking out their messages in a very purposeful way. And Mr. P.J.R. Scindia has taken a lead in revisualizing the Zoom meetings in Karnataka. And I think that has caught up everywhere. This pandemic period, which is a diversity, which is adversity, we have turned that into advantage by this digital. Better World Framework, it was conceptualized about 5 years back. If I remember, it was 2015, but we have been very late in propagating it. It aligns the National Scout Organization's educational objectives that are related to active global citizenship and community development. We have had the advantage of hearing very senior leaders of Asia Pacific region like JR or Regional Director, Prasanna, Luz, Sid, and I think today we heard also Kenny. And above all, we had the privilege of hearing my other very old friend, Mr. Peter, who gave an excellent, who led an excellent event. I wish that we continue these webinars, which are very, very meaningful and purposeful, because as we said, this webinar has covered different topics like messengers of peace, initiatives, Scouts of World Award, Nature Challenge, Scouts Go Solar, Dialogues for Peace, Diversity and Inclusion, which was handled by Peter Blanche. And while saying so, like as I said yesterday, We should also be thankful for this messenger of peace to the World Scout Foundation and the King of Saudi for their very munificent grants. I had the privilege of visiting Saudi Arabia with a small delegation led by the King of Sweden, where we received $35 million from the King of Saudi for this messengers of peace, which has been used very, very purposefully. I am sure in days to come, the team led by our director in the national headquarters, and of course, by our dynamic Chief National Commissioner, Mr. Khandewal, Mr. J.C. Mahanti, and Mr. Madhu. I also wish that the international desk at the national headquarters becomes more conspicuous by Mr. Mahanti and Madhu, and of course, I'll be there to give them all assistance. I wish every participant, I'm glad that there are 27 young people led by Anilindra who have come out with this very successful webinar. I'm sure those who have attended will decipher this to the states in their own languages so that this becomes more purposeful and meaningful. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful address. Now, I'd like to take privilege to call upon Dr. K.K. Khandewal, IAS retired and Chief National Commissioner of Bharat Scout and Guide to deliver blessing address. Sir, please.
Unfortunately, we couldn't connect with Sir at the moment. So we welcome our Joint Director Guides, Shri Darshana Pavaskar Ma'am, to give away, Srimati Darshana Pavaskar Ma'am, to give away the word of thanks.
Thank you, Abrar. Namaste, everyone. On behalf of the Bharat Scouts and Guides National Headquarters, I, Darshana Pavaskar, feel very privileged to offer this heartfelt thank you on this occasion. What feels like an end is often a beginning. I extend my gratitude for International Commissioner Sir, Mohanty Sir, Chetri Sir, Sindhya Sir, our very much brand new additional CNC, Khalid Sir. It's wonderful to hear you after a long time. Khandewal Sir, Jain Sir, who has directly, indirectly helped us to run this show. This webinar series has really helped our children to work and get motivated. And also the Asia Pacific resource team, who has put in so much of effort for their presentation, for their videos, which gave us goosebumps when we saw them. It was wonderful, wonderful way we have come through. I would really thank all the guests of honor for making yourself available at this moment. Sir, it's when you give time to someone, you actually give a part of your life. So you coming here, giving us even 10 minutes or half an hour, it's really wonderful. Thank you for that. Your presence has motivated our children, and your blessings, motivational words have really increased the morale of our children to work threefold. Our sincere thanks to Madhu. As always, he has been a very strong pillar in driving all these things for us. Our director, sir, executive director, sir, Krishna Swami, sir, our staff, volunteers at all different levels, and all these young youth boys like Abrar, Vikas, Shubham. Thank you all for making this wonderful thing possible. Our IT team, I would really fail if I would not mention their support. Because of them, the host, co-host, mute, unmute, spotlight, all those things were very nicely done. Thank you, children. Last but not the least, all the participants who are here on the webinar, panelists, and also huge number of children who are there on our YouTube channel. Thank you all for making this wonderful, wonderful part of webinar a huge success. I could hear, I could see the Facebook flooded with all this information which is coming in. And I would like to say this to the panelists and the team of Better World Framework from the participants. It's the end of the series of webinar, Better World Framework. But in reality, it would be the beginning of many more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I must add that having such dynamic leaders in our Bharat Scouts and Guides definitely encourages every scout, guide, rover, ranger out there. And Cub Bulbuls, I'm pretty sure they would watch this video in future and get really happy. Thank you so much. And ma'am, for your information, for the panelists, I would like to say there is a video of the entire team who had supported in the accomplishment of this webinar. I request the host to play the video.
Webinar on Better World Framework is the first time in Bharat Scouts and Guides India. We express our sincere thanks to our Honorable President and Chief National Commissioner for the support and guidance. We would like to express our gratitude to World Organization of Scout Moment and Asia Pacific region for supporting the event with resource speakers which gave a high dimension to the webinar. We are really thankful to the leaders of BSG India for their support and guidance.
We are really thankful to the IT team and also grateful to our director Shri R.K. Kaushik, Executive Director Krishnaswamy R., Joint Directors, Deputy Directors, Assistant Directors and Regional Organizing Commissioners for their tremendous support. We also acknowledge the hard work of the team members to make it happen. Thanks to all state associations, all delegates and viewers for your active participation. Thank you one and all. With profound regards, Team Better World Framework Webinar.
Teamwork begins by building trust and collaboration framework.
Once again, I would like to thank each and every member of the Bharatiya Scout and Guide who are directly and indirectly supported.
Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravida, Utkal, Vanga, Vindhya, Himachal, Yamuna, Ganga, Uchchal, Jaladhi, Taranga, Tava Shubha Name Jage, Tava Shubha Ashish Mange, गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you to all the staff members.